Listen to part of a seminar in an earth sciences class. The participants are discussing unusual cloud formations.
Today I want to continue our discussion about unusual cloud formations. I hope that some of you have noticed the stationary clouds that have been hanging over Mount Lincoln recently. This cloud type is called lenticular because it resembles a lens in shape. Here is an illustration of a lenticular cloud. The cloud is formed when the wind current coming from one side of the peak forces air upward and over the mountain. Now, what happens to air when it rises?
It expands and cools because of the lower temperature at higher altitudes.
Yes, that's correct. And cool air can't hold as much water vapor, so it condenses to form water droplets. If this condensation occurs at the very top of a mountain, a cloud will develop. Can anyone suggest why these clouds take on a distinctive lens shape?
Well, the wind is flowing up and over the peak. Perhaps the clouds take on the shape of the airflow.
Yes, that's right. They look rather like an upside-down saucer, don't they?
The clouds I saw were stacked up one on top of the other. Is that also a lenticular formation?
Yes, indeed. Can anyone suggest an explanation for that phenomenon?
Well, if there are several wet layers of air sandwiched between dry layers, a lenticular cloud may develop in each wet layer where the air becomes saturated. This won't happen in the dry layers of air.
Exactly, Bob. The resulting formation resembles a stack of pancakes. In fact, the technical term for this formation translated into English is pile of plates. Yes, Mary, you have a question?
You mentioned that the clouds were stationary. Why is that?
Well, in fact, the clouds are in a continuous cycle of creation and destruction. At one side of the cloud, the air is rising, and here the air cools and visible droplets form. At the other side, the air is falling, and here the air warms and the droplets evaporate, becoming invisible. Water droplets move through the cloud, but the cloud itself remains motionless with respect to the ground. The places where the air rises and falls mark the edges of the cloud. Sometimes the edges are round and very well defined. They can almost look like flying saucers. In fact, some UFO sightings have turned out to be lenticular clouds.
Why does the professor ask the students if they had noticed the clouds around Mount Lincoln? Select the picture below that shows a lenticular cloud formation. The professor briefly explains a process. Summarize the process by putting the events in order. What is true about lenticular clouds? Why are lenticular clouds sometimes stacked one above the other? Why have some people mistaken lenticular clouds for UFOs?